When I started School for Startups, the first day, the first curricula that I wrote is about that and nothing more than that. So it basically says to somebody, if you have an idea and nothing else, come here and during the course of a 9-hour boot camp, listening to me without interruption, you will, by the end of the day, know what questions to ask, how the questions have to be answered, and the outcome will be you will know the quality of the idea, what steps you have to take, and what requirements that idea has to be successful, whether it's capital, people, or you. There's a very specific gap, and I wanted to move people from not being able to start to being able to start, or not starting for the right reason, i.e. the idea sucked, which is a very good reason not to start a business on that idea. Then you throw it away and get your next idea. My initial preoccupation has been with developing enough courses to take people through to cover all the things I want to teach them. And I have envisioned about 5 days worth of material in total. I've written 3. So there's a gap. So, you know, in sort of a shorthand lingo, day 1 is the framework. It's how do you start a business, how do you think about it? And then in no particular order, I have 1 day on money, not raising money, but money. Business models, revenue models, vendors, partners, capital, funding, not funding, you know, all the things that why money's so fascinatingly useful in business and where it plays a role. That's a popular day. The next day is marketing. And in particular, it's a focus on the principles of marketing because startups tend to spend money on marketing, and we shouldn't, almost ever. In fact, when I went to sit down to write out what I thought startups should do for marketing, I filled the day before I'd spent any money, which is very interesting to me because, of course, my startups spend money too, so therefore we could be held to account on the same list that I created. Perhaps we spend less than others, but it is the case that most of the marketing startups do, if not all of it for a period of time, shouldn't cost money. And if they do, it means they're doing the wrong stuff. It's a fantastic signal to somebody to say, you're probably spending the wrong time on the wrong activity. It goes back to what's important. And marketing, in large part, is a no-cost, be very smart activity, especially today, you know, with inbound marketing taking up more and more space of the total marketing activity. So that day is going to be called, I don't know, something like $0, won't be dollars, will it? £0 marketing or something, you know, marketing for startups, because it's unique to where we all are, early stage business. Day 4 is people. How do you hire them, train them, motivate them, grow them, boards, how do you use them, etc. Because none of us seem to know how to do this. And there's some really good ways to do it. They get people bound closer together rather than tearing each other apart. And the last day is about, or the 5th day I have to write, from my point of view, is if you take the process from consumer desire to product launch, what is, in fact, the global best practice for that? And it's product management, right? So how do you determine what's going on in a customer's mind or in a potential customer's mind? And how do you translate that into product or service? And how do you get it to launch? What's the best practice for that? What's the shortest, quickest, cleanest paper path? And that process of product management is poorly understood. But as it's the key process underneath all startups, it's the #1 most important process. Understanding that from end to end, I think, is probably a very valuable thing. And those are the 5 courses, of which 3 are being delivered now. I try to distill it down to rules that people can apply in the absence, because I can't teach them everything. And in fact, I can only teach them a fraction of what they need to know in terms of saying, when this arrives, do this. That's prescriptive, and prescription is not teaching, really. And so what I try to do is distill it down into certain rules of behavior that if you more or less rigorously apply them, you will always increase the odds of making the right decision, and usually simply make the right decision. You know, and they come down to basic principles I have of starting a business, amongst which, for example, you know, never spend money if you don't have to. Now, it sounds almost trite, but then I can take anybody starting a business, myself included, or who is already running a small business, and I can walk them through their P&L, and over again, I can X through the things they shouldn't be spending money on, that they should stop. Not that they should cut back on, they should stop, because stopping is very different, because then the entire activity goes away. Its existence disappears. The purpose that has imbued somebody's daily work has gone. So they either now have to do something of real value or go away as well. And with that goes the associated cost. The biggest reason entrepreneurs are so busy is, number one, is because there's too much to do. The reason they don't get everything done is because they do too much. And those are different issues. If you're starting a business, there's just too much to do. It's fully the case because you have many things you do of first instance. And you have to do many of them once before you can stop doing stuff of first instance. Once you get over that hurdle, you're still going to be deeply shorthanded. But most people, if you look at most people in work, myself included, we waste huge amounts of time. And mostly by doing stuff that is of no value, and sometimes doing stuff of nominal value, and spending a little bit of time on stuff of great value. Why? Well, partly because we're all lazy. Partly because stuff of no value can be fun. Cruising the web is entertaining. It's not productive, right? But it's also because we frequently don't know what's of the highest value. And so I would rather people intentionally wasted time rather than unintentionally wasted time. If it's intentional, then they know they're wasting time. If it's unintentional, they're under the mistaken belief they have to be doing all that stuff, and they don't. And the sheer quantity of time people spend on the unnecessary in starting a business is breathtaking. And it truly is. And so that's also a part of the course, is to understand what actually matters, do what matters, do nothing else, move forward along that. Once you have momentum, don't stop. And if it works, then do it faster, right? Everything's broken. Assume that. So it also could be fixed. The fear falls away when the confidence arrives. In other words, the confidence is tied to the knowledge. When a person can see a clear path of what they have to do and the order in which they have to do it, it puts them in a position where they're not afraid. I mean, what I find very interesting is people talk about startups as though they're a person. We humanize an entity. Where it's not. It's a person. And if it's done correctly, it's a small group of people who together need to start a business. Right? So it's actually a very straightforward task. And what we're trying to do is ensure that they start a successful one. And the fear of starting, the not getting going challenge, has more to do with putting them in a position to know what to do. Thus, the fear falls away as the knowledge arrives, not the confidence. The confidence comes from the knowledge. It's interesting to me, though, as soon as you make it an effort of people, it's no longer displaced by this virtual startup thing that is what they are. It immediately becomes amenable to personal productivity. In other words, the same issues that stop you as an individual from succeeding along whatever goals you have are the same issues that stop you in starting a business. It's still an individual starting a new activity. Thus, I find myself over and over again, when I'm trying to teach people how to start a business, teaching them how to be productive in the first instance. And the same rules that apply in personal productivity apply in startups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because these are essentially subject to the same laws of physics. If you're at rest, you'll stay at rest. It takes a huge amount of effort to get a thing going, but once it has that momentum, inertia will keep it going. And so it all still works. And so if you can get things, if you're good at getting things done, if you're good at getting things going, then you'll probably be good at starting a business. If you're not, you won't.